Right, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all honor and glory and infinite praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai Bahashim Chak Wadash. Double honor to the elders and apostles of GMS. Peace and salutation to the hopeful elect out there pushing His word in truth and sincerity. And for this lesson, I can continue on my breakdown of the book of Sirach. Right now, I am currently on Sirach, the 29th chapter. So I'm going to go ahead and complete the chapter. I'm going to start off where I left. I'm going to let the scripture speak, break it down, and Adonai Tazah, Lord willing, this lesson is edifying. Sirach 29 in verse 12, it says, shut up alms. Well, I'm going to start at verse 11. Sirach 29 and verse 11, it says, lay up thy treasure according to the commandments of the Most High, and it shall bring thee more profit than gold, right? So lay up your treasures according to the commandment of the Lord, right? The different things that you own, lay it up according to what's written, right? So we know the scriptures talk about helping your neighbor when they need help, right? Helping the poor when you can, and how, you know, alms, that's alms, right? That's agape, right? Helping your fellow Israelite brother. Laying up a commandment, that's laying up treasures according to the commandments of the Most High, because these things are written, right? And then it said, what? It shall bring thee more profit than gold. Meaning the Most High sees our good acts, right? The Most High sees our good works, right? And He's going to reward us according to our good works, right? So us laying up alms and us showing forth agape and moving righteously in the eyes of the Lord, that's going to profit us more than any type of amount of money, any type of valuable things according to this world will do, right? So verse 12, it says, shut up alms in thy storehouses, and it shall deliver thee from all affliction. That's what it's saying, right? That's what I just explained, right? Shut up alms in your storehouses, and it shall deliver thee from all affliction. Meaning when you're in a tight spot, one, you're gonna have a helping hand, right, from those that you helped out. Two, the Most High is going to look and repay you, right, according to your good works. Verse 13, it shall fight for thee against thine enemies better than a mighty shield and strong spear, right? So the help of the Lord, right, the help of the Heavenly Father, the Most High being pleased with your spirit because of how you operate, that's going to help you more than any type of thing of this world, right? Things of this world won't help you more than the Heavenly Father. It says, an honest man is surety for his neighbor, but he that is impudent will forsake him. Right, so an honest man is surety for his neighbor, meaning you will help your neighbor out in times of need, right? Surety it is basically you taking on somebody else's debt, right? So if you're honest, you would take on the debt of your neighbor if you can help it, right? Your fellow Israelite brother. It says, but he that is impudent will forsake him. Forget not the friendship of thy surety, for he hath given his life for thee. Right. So if you're in a predicament to where somebody took on your debt, right, they helped you out in a predicament where you needed help, don't forget that person, right? Because that person did a risk. He put a risk to help you, right? It says a sinner will overthrow the good state of his surety, right? So if somebody helped you out, right, because that's what surety is. Once again, I could read the definition, but basically a sinner, right, a wicked person will mess up the debt that another man covered for him, right? Now, once again, you know, these scriptures was written in times past, right, in ancient times. So things like this probably don't happen too often. But it just shows you the type of character that you're supposed to have, right? Give me one sec. Sirach 29. No, Salaki. This is the definition of surety. Right, suretyship, an accessory agreement through which a person binds themselves for another already bound, either in whole or in part, as for their debt, default or miscarriage, the assumption of liability for the obligations of another. So that's the definition, right, of suretyship. So it says, a sinner will overthrow the good estate of his surety, and he that is in unthankful mind will leave him in danger that delivered him. Once again, showing you how we ought to act, right? We're not so, if somebody does something for us, right, in honesty, in righteousness, right, we're supposed to repay it, right, and don't move evil towards it, right? If that makes sense. Verse 18, it says, surety ship have undone many of good estate, and shaken them as a wave of the sea. Mighty men have it driven from their houses, so that they wander among strange nations. So right, and the priestess is telling us, right, to help our neighbors out, to have alms, right, charity amongst, you know, our fellow Israelites, to cover our Israelites, to cover our fellow deaf neighbors, but at the same time it's saying suretyship, right? Doing that has also ruined a lot of people, right? So it's giving you the balance, right? It says, a wicked man transgressing the commandments of the Lord shall fall into suretyship, and he that undertaketh and followeth another man's business for gain shall fall into suits. Right, so it's saying those who break the commandments, they're gonna find themselves in this particular predicament, right? Helping out a wicked person who end up messing you over, right? And it's saying if you follow after other man's business for gain, you're gonna fall into suits, meaning that's gonna happen to you as well. That's straight to the point. Verse 20 says, help thy neighbor according to thy power, and beware that thou thyself fall not into the same. So at the same time, right, it's giving balance, right? It's telling you, right, a lot of times people find themselves in they end up getting messed over by those that they try to help, right? But at the same time, you should still try to help your neighbor, right? But do it in wisdom, right? Move wisely. It says, help thy neighbor according to thy power, and beware that thou thyself fall not into the same, right? So whatever you can do to help your fellow Israelite brother, you should do it, but be mindful that you don't fall into the same predicament that he is in, right? So once again, it's giving balance, right? But we use all the precepts together. And we know another precept says, if you find a friend, prove him first, right? So we don't just, you know, do these things for any old person, right? We are mindful who we actually help out. It said, the cheap thing for life is water and bread and clothing and in house to cover shame. Straight to the point, right? These things that we need for life, right? We need water, we need to eat, we need clothes on our back, and we need somewhere to stay. It says, better is the life of a poor man in a mean cottage than a delicate fare in another man's house, right? So better is your life if you're in a poor state, but you got your own, right? You got your own food, your own clothing, right? Your own place to live, right? You can provide for yourself, but you're in a poor state. It's better to be that than to live off another man's house, right? To live off of another man, right? It's better to have your own stuff than to live off somebody else. Be a little or much, hold thee contented, that thou hear not the reproach of thy house, right? So whether you have a little or you have a lot, right, be content with what you have, right? As the priest says, godliness with contentment is great gain, right? So you got to have a content spirit on what the Most High gave you, what the Most High provided for you, right? With that, you will avoid a lot of drama. For it is a miserable life to go from house to house, for thou art a stranger, thou darest not open thy mouth, right? So to live from house to house is a miserable life, right? To not have your own and to have to depend on a whole bunch of different people, that's not a life that you want to live. That thou shalt entertain and have feasts and have no thanks. Moreover, thou shalt hear bitter words, right? This is what happens when you're living on somebody else, right? If you're living on somebody else's house. Come thou stranger and furnish a table and feed me of that thou hast ready. Give place thou stranger to an honorable man. My brother cometh to be large, and I have need of mine house. These things are grievous to a man of understanding, the upbraiding of house room and reproaching of the lender. I'm gonna read that G&T. It words it a little, it gives it more modern language to it. verse 25, it says, you welcome, it says, verse 24 on down. Going from house to house is a miserable way to live. Anywhere you go, you don't dare speak. You welcome the guests and pour the drinks, and nobody thanks you. Instead, people humiliate you by things like, stranger, come here and set the table. I want to eat what you got here. Give it here. Go away, stranger. I've got an important guest. My brother is coming to visit and I need the room. Being denied hospitality or having a money lender hound you, these are hard things for any sensitive person to endure. Right, in verse 28 is going to a man of understanding. Right, that experience that too as a man of understanding is grievous, right? So with that, that's Sirach the 29th chapter. I want to give all honor and glory and infinite praises to the Heavenly Father, Yahweh, Ba'ashim Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashim Chag Kodash. Shalom.